Hey guys, one of the things that I get asked by a lot of people is why didn't I have kids? And it's not because I didn't want kids, but the way I was raised and grew up in my home as a child, it really affected my decision on whether or not to have kids. And I think a lot of Gen X kids who became adults had to answer this question on whether they want to carry on their family bloodline or not. And I think many of our parents expected us to have kids. And I know for me, my family, it was actually a personal sense of duty, I guess, to have kids to carry on the bloodline. But I didn't want to have kids because I remember my childhood experience is very negative, right? For the most part, the family life wasn't very good. And my parents just being very heavy handed when it came to disciplining us. I know a lot of my friends, they got the belt, they got the wooden spoon. For me, I got the wooden stick, and when that stopped having an effect on me, it was the metal closet hanger that was used to punish me. And if it wasn't physical punishment, then we were subjected to some kind of emotional punishment, which is usually the withdrawal of love from one of the parents or both parents. And that had a very negative effect. And sometimes it was even more hurtful. So you had a combination of emotional and physical punishment that went on in the household. And it really confused me as a child. I often wonder, like, why are we here? Why have kids if you can't even take care of them properly? And from that generation, growing up in that time period, kids were, to be seen but not heard. And you didn't question things, right? And so when us Gen Xers became adults, we either became helicopter parents, right, where we hovered over kids, made sure that we're overly involved in their lives, almost suffocating them. And we became, but the other part that people don't talk about, because they talk about helicopter parents a lot. I heard the term a lot in the news, all this stuff. But the other part that they didn't talk about is the other group of Gen X adults, right? And that was the group that elected not to have kids. And we don't hear much about them, right? But they're actually a very large part, I'm finding out, of this group. And there's a reason why I didn't have kids, like many Gen Xers in this group, and that is I didn't want to repeat the cycle. I didn't want to repeat the cycle of violence, right? I didn't want my kids to be subjected to all the stuff that I went through as a kid. And I recently came across some research, and it actually backs what I feel. And probably for many of us that feel the same way, that Gen Xers don't want to have kids because they don't want to repeat the same patterns as their parents. But many of them also felt that, they had already raised children because they had to take care of their siblings, take care of the siblings on their own, cook for them, watch out for them when they're younger, when the parents weren't around. It's funny because I still, after all these decades, I still carry this trauma and this reminders of my childhood. Sometimes when I'm resting upstairs, I'll hear my wife put on her slippers and she'll walk up and down the stairs, and that flip-flopping motion sound kind of triggers me. It reminds me of the times when my mom would tell me to go down the basement and stay there and wait, and I would hear the closet door open up, and I would hear either the stick being her grabbing the stick or a hanger off the rack, and I'd hear these quick footsteps going across the linoleum floor then down the stairs, and then that's when I would get my beating. And a lot of times, to me, looking back at it, the beatings were also a little bit excessive as well. You weren't allowed to cry. If you did, you would get hit more, so you would have to hold everything in. So those things, really, really hit me hard. And my wife even doesn't know about, that the slippers and the sounds actually get me, upset, right? And that was those things are the reasons why, my wife and I decided not to have kids. And a lot of people question our decision. My father, sat me down and he said, he opened up a book with our family lineage, and he pointed down and said, look, I don't want our family line to end with me. And he was trying to push me to have kids, but I knew in my heart I wasn't gonna give in. It was my decision, and they never know. They still to this day don't know the reasons why, and I don't think I'll ever say to them, because I don't think it's gonna ever do anything anyway except hurt them. And what's the point anyway? You can't turn back the clock, right? But I thought that I was alone this feeling, because a lot of people, friends would ask, and they'll wonder, like, why wouldn't you want kids and so forth. So we kind of sometimes looked as the oddball, right, the odd couple. But I realized that I wasn't alone, because I started reading comments on other forums, and there was many other Gen X adults that decided to go childless, and they're feeling the same. A couple of comments, struck a chord in me, and one of them was, I broke the cycle of not wanting to be a parent because I don't want to be a mother effer like my father was while I was growing up. And others have said, I broke the cycle of parenting, right, or not having children, right? So I broke the cycle of my parents and don't have to be subjected to the same abuse anymore. So those things were really kind of hit me hard, right? And made me realize that, wow, it's interesting that other people feel the same. So before I move on, I want to ask you guys if you guys had to break a cycle, and what did it cost you? Feel free to drop a comment below, because I read every single comment and would love to hear from all of you. So there's benefits to not having kids, right? And one of the benefits, obviously, was not having to put my kids through the same trauma as I had when I was a child. But now that I'm, in my 50s, I do think about what would have been like if I had kids, what it would have been like in the household to celebrate holidays with them. My nieces and nephews, they're graduating from college and university, and what would have been like for my kids to graduate. And I think about those things. I don't have any regrets, because for me, once I make a decision, it's well thought out. But I also think about, would I do all the right things, the things that my parents didn't do, right, and start a new cycle for the next generation? I've been told many times that I would have been a great father, and I know my wife would have been a great mother. But there is also, I guess I can't speak for everyone, right? But by not having kids, it didn't leave a huge hole in my heart. But the thing that I guess another benefit was I got to redirect my energy and inspire the lives of other kids. I became the cool uncle to my nieces and nephew. I've taught thousands of students at my martial arts academy over the years, and I'm there to lift them up when they don't win that medal or that gold medal at a tournament, and but I'm there to inspire them and see them grow when they do win gold or a medal at a tournament. And I get to see so many of them grow up when they started with me as little kids at my academy. And, some of them are adults now, right, or teenagers. So that really inspires me, right, and makes me feel like, I guess, whole and complete, and even though I don't have kids. But the one thing that I want to say is that as Gen X adults, we either became the helicopter parent or we were decide not to have kids. But two different paths, but in the end, it was the same goal, and that was to break the cycle of the way we were raised, and punished as kids growing up. So I'm curious to hear from you. I want to know how many of you out there went through similar situation and decided to break the cycle, and do you have any regrets not having children? So if this video resonated with you, please feel free to like, share, or subscribe. Please feel free to check out my next video, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.